I'm Cody DePablo.
And I'm Michael Weatherly.
And this is
Off
Duty.
Well, I think we did that perfectly.
Yeah, I think so.
What are we doing this week on Off Duty?
We are talking about Season 3, Episode 9, Frame Up. A big Tony DiNozzo episode, Michael. Are you feeling this?
I'm feeling like it's going to be exciting. We're going to learn a lot, and we have a very special guest.
Yes, today our guest is the myth, the legend, Chip Sterling himself, Michael Bellisario, otherwise known as...
Bella.
Two Michaels today. What a treat. Welcome to Off Duty, an NCIS rewatch podcast. This week on the show, we're talking Season 3, Episode 9, Frame Up. The amputated legs of a young woman turn up aboard the Marine Corps base Quantico. Gibbs and company investigate. Forensic evidence implicates Tony because a pro has framed him. Here's what happened November 15th, 2005. For context.
Wait, what day? November what?
November 15th, 2005.
Okay.
What a year.
What happened on the air?
WWE superstar Eddie Guerrero died in his hotel room in Minneapolis due to heart failure at age 38. Saudi Arabia became a member of the World Trade Organization after 12 years of talks. Over 50 tornadoes were reported during the afternoon and evening across central North America, stretching from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. That's what happened.
Wow.
November 15th, 2005.
Wow. Context is everything.
Context is everything. And for all of you, today's episode, what is it about? When a pair of legs belonging to an unidentified woman is discovered on a Marine base, the team is left stunned when the evidence points towards Tony as the one responsible for the death. The team goes through a long list of people with grudges against Tony, and they attempt to clear his name, only to discover that an unlikely person is truly responsible. So today we have a special guest. He played Chip Sterling on the NCIS mothership.
Yes.
He did how many
Season
episodes?
3.
So I think he did 5?
I don't know. Yeah, 5 episodes.
Yes, and he was kind of a big deal in the Abbey world.
Yes, it's a big twist, but who else is Michael Bellisario? He is the son of show creator Donald Bellisario, and we will be talking a little bit about that.
We will. We'll be talking about his career. We'll be talking about his life. We'll be talking about his life as a night promoter.
Yes. We learned.
Yeah, we learned a lot.
We learned more, and also, he is not anything like Chip Sterling.
Not at all.
I mean, just the sweetest, gentlest soul. So let's go and show everyone our little chat with Michael Bellisario.
Nice shoes. Who are you?
Charles Sterling. You're a new assistant, ma'am.
Do me a favor, Chip.
It's Charles, ma'am.
Charles. Don't call me ma'am. It's Abby.
I think I feel more comfortable being assigned to another project.
What's the matter, Chip? You don't like watching porn with me?
Wipe that dirt off your lip. Dirt? I've got the IDs on the people in the restaurant who have invites to the Marine Corps ball, ma'am. Abby, sorry. I really hate being called Chip. We already processed that fiber.
I know that, Chazoid. You took this job just to set up Tony.
Yep. And I did a pretty good job at it, didn't I?
Now can I work alone?
We're here today with very special guest, Chip Sterling, also known as Michael Bellisario.
Michael Bellisario.
Mikey B. Now,
First of all, it's been a long time.
It's been a little while, but how are we going to say we have two Michaels?
Mikey B?
Or
Mikey
call me
B?
Bella, because call me Bella.
Bella. I like Bella. Beauty.
Wait a minute. Has this been established before?
I
Is
mean, a
that
long
something?
time ago, people started with the Bellisario. You can call me Bella. I get Bella a lot.
I like Bella.
Let's
So it
go
works.
for Bella.
Okay. Here's what we're
anyway,
doing.
Bella.
All right.
Anyway, Bella.
Okay.
I want, first of all, to say that we just hot off watching this episode.
Yes, we were having lunch and just, eating, inhaling that thing.
I have extreme memories of this particular season, which we are reviewing on.
Which is a really special season for many of us.
Right?
Season 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take you on a little journey.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the episode. We're going to get into your memories of the episode, but we're also going to talk a little bit about Bella.
We're going to talk a little bit about Bella. We're gonna pick your brain. First of all, I want to start with that hair because
the Wolverine.
This is like it's not a wig.
No,
this is real.
Not today.
Not to. Okay, so how long did it take you to do this?
I mean, how it started. I guess this started because obviously, okay, in the episode Frame Up, you see I have shaved head,
yes,
shaved face. We did like a fake mustache for the episode. For a certain photo. It was for a photo.
But you had a mustache in the very beginning when Chip first came on, right?
I think it's I think maybe he did, yeah. And then he shaved her or something like that.
He had like a little tiny.
Yeah. You make fun of it or something. Something like that, or Gibbs does. But so how this started was, it was like, I was around 29 or 30. Yeah, 29 or 30. And I booked this independent film, and the storyline is kind of like a thriller where these two guys work for an ad agency and kind of gets crazy in their lives and they're best friends, and at the end of it you find out that they both are bums and homeless and they've been squatting and everything's in their imagination. So it's kind of this like idea like when you see people talk to themselves, like it's what's really going on in their heads and they see themselves as something different. So when I booked it, the director's like, we're going to shoot in a couple months. And I had a shaved head, shaved face. He's like, I want you to grow your real hair out. And I want you to grow your beard out we're going to shoot the end first. I want you to have facial hair and stuff like that. And then we'll cut it down for, the main parts of the movie. And 2 months turned into 9 months. So then I had a huge beard out to here. I fell in love with it, by the way, too. Grow my hair out, all this stuff.
Did you feel very Viking-y?
Yeah, it was dope. I liked it a lot. And then we shot the end scene, like 2 days end scene, and then we had to cut it down, and I was like panicking about it because I got so used to it. It's a weird thing if you grow it out, and this is short.
Does it feel a little bit like you're wearing a mask?
No, I mean you get used to it. When you only grow hair out here, and it's like you get a little itchy, but then if it gets long enough, it doesn't. Mm-hmm. So that's how it.
Now, how long though? Like
I had it the biggest I had it was like down to here,
ZZ Top,
and this is a little bit kind of trimmed up. Again, this is not crazy long for me.
And the other thing is the grooming products. You got to take care of the beard.
I don't really use. I did a long time ago. I used to have the mustache. I forget what it's called. Where it twirls.
Oh, that's I think one of the last times I saw you. You had the
that
Salvador.
Was a lot of work.
That was the Salvador Dali thing.
But his like went straight. I think mine curled.
No, Salvador Dali went like this.
I think his went like that. It just pointed out.
Maybe he played with them. I don't know.
But the thing with the wax is I have like curlyish hair is that you have to really twist it, and you have to like form it and have it hold, and that took a long time.
So for people who are listening or watching at home, what we're talking about is Bella's hair. Michael Bellisario's got a beautiful big beard and a sort of Wolverine pompadour. It's like a pompadour. Yeah. But this figures into the episode that we're talking about, Frame Up, because in that episode you had the shaved head, but you also, when we see you on trial, had like a mustache.
But it wasn't the.
It's a photo.
It was a regular little mustache.
I think that the one in trial was a little weird looking too.
Jethro?
Bobby!
But for some reason, so when you started, let's go back into how you first came on to be Abby's assistant, which is hilarious because the very last line is, "Can I just work alone now?"
Yeah.
Yes.
Now can I work alone?
From what I recall, you put me away or did something way earlier than that.
Yes.
I had hated you ever since then, and
right. Not Michael Bellisario hating Michael Weatherly.
No,
Chip Sterling hating Tony.
I love Mike.
We want to. I love Michael Bellisario. But how did you, Mikey B? How did Bella go? Like, how did you come into the NCIS universe? Walk us through a little bit of the, if you can remember, like the first day on set.
And did you know how far this arc was going to go?
I think they had said it was going to be like 4 to 5 episodes, and I think it turned out to be 5. First of all, I hoped it wasn't good. I would rather be reoccurring a long time and just been Abby's assistant, but it didn't work out that way.
Right.
And I don't even know if I knew in the beginning that that's what it was going to turn out to be. So it was just coming in like, oh, you're going to be the new little assistant. And then it was like,
and
no, there's a little.
So you had no idea that you were going to be like a killer. They never told you that
in the beginning.
So, okay, so you come into the world of NCIS. Obviously, we talked to Sean Murray.
Yep.
We know that there are family connections and that Don feels very strongly about having Julie in the cutting suite and the late David being on set, and producing. And really, it's a family affair with Don.
Well, I think it's one of the reasons why this show started working so well, because it was so, like, the entire cast work as a family, and so I think it's one of the things that we talked about that Don did so well.
Right. And Dennis Smith was talking about how the family dynamic of the characters, the plot is the plot. There's a murder, there's a thing, this was a full-blown head fake that the audience, I don't think, saw coming.
They probably just thought I was going to be on as the
guy, right?
As the guy.
Or something like that.
So I can remember when Patty would call me, she would say, "Hi, Michael, I have Don for you," with this sort of apologetic,
mark.
There's a storm coming, and I know you're not in your cellar yet. Can you get to your cellar? Because the storm is coming, and your house is probably going to be destroyed. But I was telling Cody this, I would, wherever I was, I would stop everything, pull my car over on the side of the road, I'd close the door and be alone in a room. And I'd be like, and I would wait and be like, "Hey, Don, it's Michael."
Yeah.
And, because he didn't call you just to say hi.
Right. That's funny.
He was calling you with a point of view about something. And I remember the first time that I had this swell of pride, because when you want somebody, their approval and their validation and all that stuff, and you're used to the criticism, or you're used to not kind of coming up to a level, or anything. I had a father, in a way similar to that. And he called me and he said, I'm watching you right now. That is the funniest thing that you cost us about $25,000 in overtime, but it's worth it. It's fantastic. It was when I did this silly dance. He's like, "We're putting in the main titles. It's like fantastic." And then he followed it up with,
but
never do that again.
Yeah.
And then he called me another time and said, "Okay, have you read, this Chained script?" And I said, "I have. What do you think of it?" "Well, I like the Defiant Ones reference." And he goes, "Right. Frank Whaley's going to be playing the other part, and he's coming in from New York. Now, he's a real actor." Right? And I'm like, "Well, I'm kind of a real actor." It's like, no,
I get paid real money.
Frank Whaley's a real actor. So your game, you need to come up to his level.
By the way, when we get to that episode, that was such a good episode.
An unbelievable experience. And Frank, who I worked with 2 more times subsequently on Bull, and what a talented, funny, uproariously.
Did you guys
funny.
talk about that?
Oh yeah. But the Don call,
Well, it's just like, I remember this, for some reason, it's this one specific moment on Jag that I remember. It would happen a lot, but I was shooting an episode. It might have been like a Christmas thing. We were down by we were shooting on the Queen Mary or something. And I know that Dad would always tell Charles Johnson, "I'm going to set. You're the only person that knows. Do not tell them I'm coming." He just wanted to show up to set and didn't want anyone to know that he was showing up. He just wanted to see what it was going to be like when he got there.
Yep.
And I remember, I think Charles couldn't help himself and he didn't want people to get in trouble. So he was coming down, we're shooting the Queen Mary. And I remember
such a mother.
Dad pulls up. I see him. I remember where
coming.
Dad pulls up and I see the security guard already has like a spot for him and a cone. And my dad's like, they fucking know. They know him. They know that I'm pulling up.
Right.
And I would also hear over the radios, the walkie-talkie and stuff. They're like, people just be sitting there. And it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. You did like, Don just pulled in. And I watched people that didn't need to be doing anything. They're just like, so that when he walks in, like they're like, and they're doing shit that They don't maybe need to be doing anything, but every time that he pulled, they start doing stuff.
Yes, it's
justifying yourself. But he probably knows that if people know that he's coming, they're going to put on the act of, hey, we're working.
Talk about also.
And by the way, you're going to work anyway.
Yeah.
So why,
I think the most nervous I would get is if he was directing an episode that I was in.
Oh, yeah.
Like that would be really nerve-wracking.
Did he ever give you any advice on it? Not necessarily like, I'll leave acting alone for a second, but like life advice, being a man, how to conduct yourself, honesty versus.
Did you guys ever have like the acting talk at all or no?
No, because he's always been supportive, and he really he'll watch my stuff. It's so funny. He'll watch a movie, he goes, so I saw the movie. He's like, horrible movie. But you were awesome. And he's also very honest about stuff in the sense like if I didn't do a good job or something, he would be like, I didn't like you in that. He calls and he's like, the movie.
By the way, I'm the same way. So I always tell my friends, if you call me for the truth, you're going to get the truth.
He goes, I couldn't wait till you died so I could turn it off. But he goes, you were awesome. For some reason, at the end, I kind of die in the end, but I've been dying a lot at the end of movies. But no, but he's like.
Just for your dad. You're like, Dad, I die in this one.
When do you die?
There's 2 minutes left, but I did it, you have to watch the whole thing. But I'll always remember one of my favorite moments ever was, so I was doing JAG and he'd watch an episode and he would be like, I saw it. Yeah, all right. You're okay. And I was like, and that hurt so much. And this was in my teens. And
you were so young. I mean, that's so young.
Well, his crazy story was that he's like, you got to go to college. It was after high school. But I'm like, shoot, I'm JAG. He's like, you got to go to college. I'm like, do you care if I go to acting college? He's like, no, I don't care if you go to acting college, go to acting college. So one of my best accomplishments, crazy to me, is that I auditioned for Cal Arts and See Me Purchase. Cal Arts here, See Me Purchase in New York. Had to have a monologue. I did Catcher in the Rye, Holden Caulfield, the opening of the book. And I auditioned for both schools. And I was asking one of the students or one of the teachers, so how many people audition? They're like 2,500 to 3,000 kids audition. I said, how many get in? They're like 25. I'm like, 1% get in? I'm like, this is never happening. I got into both, which was awesome. Couldn't go to New York because I was shooting JAG and Cal Arts was here. Then I get to Cal Arts orientation. They're like, so you have to study here 4 years and you can't shoot anything. I'm like, well, I'm on something, so I got to shoot. You can't. So I come back. I'm like, Dad, they won't let me shoot. He's like, well, that's bullshit. I'm like, so.
You wanted me to go to college.
Yeah.
I told you it was bullshit.
I go, can I go to acting class? And he's like, fine. So I started, my first acting class was at the Beverly Hills Playhouse with Milton Katselis, and I got right into his master class.
Great.
And I guess the point of the story is that before I had taken class, I was fine at acting. It was love of mine, but I learned so much from class, crazy. In months and months and months, I probably was in that class for years, but out of months just from the start, I learned so much. And then I was in every show of JAG. I did, probably 6 episodes or something like that, reoccurring each year. I'd gone to class, came back to do an episode, did the episode, and then everything was different since then. He watches it, and he starts coming out. He was telling every writer, did you see Michael on the show? Did you see the episode? Did you see how good he was in the show? And he told me, you're so good. You're so good in the show. And ever since then, he's always been like, oh my God, it was after class, but class taught me a lot. Before class, he'd be like, yeah, you're all right. You're all right. And then after that changed, and it was the best feeling to have him be like, you were so good. And they told everyone.
That's such a great story on so many levels.
It's very Gibbs. Right? When you
but by the way,
you finally get that.
Yeah, but you earned it. And that's the thing. Yeah, you earned it, and that's.
Well, you got to earn it.
Well, that's a thing.
Hello.
Yeah. He's not going to give you the compliment just because you're my son. And I think that's I think it's a hard thing to do as a parent too.
Yes, it is.
Because you want to be able to say you're great and you're going to think, your kids are probably great forever. But I think if you're going to be the best version of a parent you can be, you also have to find the honesty so they can grow, and that's a tough balance. That's a really tough balance. That's
also the goal of this podcast is honesty. As we go into the deep end of the pool a little bit, we touch bottom. Well, sure. Touch the bottom of the pool.
Do you honestly remember when you met me? Because I remember when I met you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. I met you in Australia.
Yep. Wait.
Do you remember the restaurant name? I remember the restaurant.
Wait,
the Pier.
The Pier.
You were there when he was talking to your dad for that great dinner?
Yeah.
I didn't. I never.
But I met you at the Pier.
I never auditioned.
Right.
For the job. It was that dinner
Yeah, I remember the dinner.
That
I can still see it right now.
And your dad years later wrote, he bound a script, one of the Killaris.
Yes.
And he wrote inside, thank God you invited yourself to dinner.
It was the dinner.
Thank God you invited yourself.
Do you remember how much fun that night?
Yeah.
I remember,
I can still see it sitting at the pier.
I can too.
What were you playing a Kennedy in a movie or something?
I was playing Robert Wagner.
Very close.
Yes. Very close. Yes.
Very close.
I mean, I had a lot of put on, but it was really, I felt a great affinity for your father right out of the gate because, I mean, not only was I in awe of like a TV legend, but I knew his language. I knew his morals, his code. He was from my father's generation. He's somebody.
Is that where the Gibbs rule? The rules come from?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that the writers were reacting to Don in a way. And I think the people wrote Gibbs like as if they were kind of writing about Don. The way that Don writes is he doesn't know where he's going. Mm-hmm. And so he creates things as they occur to him. And he has these crazy ideas.
But for example, were any of these ideas your own? Like, because for example, this is a weird thing to be talking about Don and then be talking to Don's kid. And then at the same time, did you ever have insight into like, hey, Dad, like I would love to play a character like this? Was that conversation ever had?
No,
or was it more like, look, I'm thinking of you for this, and that's all the information you got?
I think more like that, where he's like, look, I got something coming up, or a character that you'd work for, or something like that. It was never like no, I don't think we discussed it, or like, believe me, if we discussed it, I'd be like, so I think Weatherly has a brother that lives with him now. And
he runs and he's like involved in the club scene.
Right, he's in the clubs.
And so we can shoot in clubs a lot of the time.
And wait 1 second, because that's a really funny thing. That's a great segue. For people that don't know Bella, Mikey B, you were heavily in the club scene.
Yeah, nightlife was a
promoter.
Yeah, that's how it started. I mean, it still was like that. JAG ended, so I did JAG. And was interested. I was going to bring that up, but you talk about family and crews with family. That was another one that was a big, felt like a family and the crew and everything like that. So it was really kind of hard when that ended. I mean, I'd been on for 10 years, roughly.
And what were you doing in that show?
That was Mikey Roberts, who was Bud's younger brother.
Yep, Mikey R.
So JAG ended, and then I got really close to a pilot. Got through studio, went to network, lost to someone else, and then huge movie, went all the way through. Big director. It was like a Coast Guard movie, and they're like, it's a lot of characters, but I had a main character, and he's like, I love you, I love everything about you. Just we just have to do a swim test, and I was like, yeah. And I just at the time I had been growing my hair out, and I didn't want to do all this swim test. I didn't want to. Not that I didn't want to. I didn't swim at the time. I swim, but I hadn't swam in years out in the ocean or in a pool because I don't want to screw up my hair, and I got to do it up, and I have to do stuff. Oh my
God, you're so
I went to do a swim test, and I was like, oh God, and I do a swim test, and I'm like, that was great, thank you so much, and then I lost that one.
You're kidding me.
So got really upset, and I was like,
and then you started swimming every day.
Yeah, then I started swimming every day and shaved my head. No, it's like, I'm not acting anymore. I'm done, and I started going out to clubs. And I'm born and raised in LA and know a lot of people. And I'm going to these clubs. And one day, this kid that I was bringing out to this club says he was going to promote a night. And he's like, oh, come to my night. I'm like, what is this crap? You're promoting a night. I'm the one that brought you here. I know everyone. This kid doesn't know anybody. I can do this way better than you. And the owners were like, well, why don't you? By the way,
he was really, you were really good.
This owner was like, why don't you promote a night? And it was a Wednesday. I think it was a Wednesday. I was like, okay. And they're like, it'll pay $200 and free drinks. I was like, free drinks? So
forget the money.
Yeah. Pretty girls? Yeah.
So that's how it started. And it was a really weird, I'd never really gone to clubs at all at the time. I've gone to bars and stuff like that, but I was 21.
Hard to believe that you never went to clubs. Are you serious?
Until I started,
because I associate you with LA nightlife. Not that I was ever a part of it,
promoting. I didn't really go to clubs. I started going to clubs right after that. I started promoting clubs. All these promoters heard about my night. They started to come look at my night. They liked the crowd. They're like, oh my God, this kid's crushing it. And they're like, you got to come to do our stuff. I was like, I don't know. And before it gets too crazy long of a story, I started a big night at this place called the Sunset Room. I don't know if you guys ever went to the Sunset Room. So it was like the Sunset Room had been open for 3 years and they never gave a promoter Saturdays because at the time you'd have a promoter during the week and then the weekend the club would just run on
fills up
the name. They wouldn't need a promoter at the time. Now you need like 50 promoters are doing it. But I started this Saturday night at the Sunset Room, did the VIP room, and then everything just started growing from there. And then it became more of like a branding thing instead of just promoting. It's like I built up a name. But then I got back in it. So.
Right. But then it wasn't $200 a night anymore.
No, it wasn't. So that grew into something pretty lucrative, probably. Free drinks. You're like, I stuck around.
Good one.
And this is a funny thing that you may or may not know. I'm not really a night person. Like I don't go out. And plus the schedule did not allow it. And I've never really been the kind of person that's like, oh, let me go hit a club. But the few times I ever bumped into you, either at, hiking or whatever, every single time I saw you, you were like, Cote, when are you coming out?
I think Michael maybe came once.
But you were you never gave up. You were like, when are you and you were always so like wonderful about it too. You were always just happy to invite, and yeah, I bet it was fun. I mean, you did it and you were such a natural.
So here's something from the episode that I'd like to call back on, and maybe we can even have a little fun with it.
Okay.
Now that we call this part of the show the dissection. Let's get into it. There's a rating that takes place in the squad room, a rating of the tush. McGee walks away.
Is that episode?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the episode, and he lifts up his jacket and gives you a little tushy shake, and you give him a 4, which he's shocked at until you say, no, 4 out of 5, and he's like, oh, that's pretty good.
I give it a 4.
You kidding? 4?
Out of 5, I think that's good.
It's such a funny moment.
And Sean is so just classic. And there's a little slow motion.
Slow motion, and like, I'm aware that I'm going to show you my butt. And by the way, Sean Murray was very proud of his butt. Because I remember at that point, he was like, oh, I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty confident. And I was like, it's cute.
It's a 4 out of 5. But you rated DiNozzo's a 2 out of 5.
Come on.
No.
What do you think? Rate it.
Fine. A 2.
2.
Right. And then she actually says something because of a hairy butt situation. And you and I were just watching
You deducted 3 points. And I'm like, so but if I shave, it's a 5? So anyway,
wait.
Let's...
My little
how did you see his ass before that?
Well, because we're undercovers. We were undercovers.
That's right. I remember
that. In fact, I asked him the same question. I said, well, has she seen your butt? And then we both kind of looked at each other. We're like, I think undercovers.
I want to rate Bella's beard.
Oh, that's a good one.
Is it out of 5 or out of 10?
We should play it with everyone.
I know exactly what it is. It's a 10.
Okay, for me, it's a 9, and I'll tell you why. Because I could do more.
You could do more.
Yeah, I like
more longer?
Yes.
Hair is very important in the career arc.
Oh, and by the way, for you in this particular episode, you have a fantastic moment during interrogation where you do this it's such a classic Tom Wright moment where you start sort of banging on the table. And you start playing this little melody. And then that was
a really good sequence.
It's an amazing, it's a great montage. And then, but the great thing about it is that you start sort of like looking at your hair and fixing it.
I'm fixing my hair.
You're fixing your hair. We're going back to the hair. And then he goes into this little bit of a music, like playing the drums
solo
thing.
Right.
And then there's this amazing montage of all of us being very concerned for you.
Yeah. And working hard.
Yeah. And at the end, you stop the montage and you go right back to the hair.
I think he does his hair again. Yeah,
moment.
Does his hair. Yeah.
Well,
I had moments there I was looking, I was like, oh.
It was, when we were shooting, because I was not in the script, that sequence, and there were several things in this episode that were not in the script, and Tom Wright, incredibly creative and
good
worked with Hitchcock.
Yes,
he's worth looking up on the IMDb. His episodes of NCIS are all 201 classic, but the frame up
frame up is really good.
So when I'm in the room and they're supposed to just get a shot of me biding my time, I started doing that thing that I always do, where I'm always playing the drums and doing I'm doing the like Phil Collins in the air tonight, space drums. And they went in, and I remember Avery Drew saying to me, I think it was Avery, somebody was saying that they had to loop it because they didn't play that long. So they had to build out the...
But where'd they get the shots for the montage? Where'd they get all those other shots?
Well, they got... Right. So there were shots of people. It was supposed to be a kind of... everyone is concerned, and then DiNozzo sitting in the thing. But it became sort of this drum solo. And the other thing that happened in this episode is I'm in the jail cell, and I basically I'm like, they're never going to believe me.
It's an interrogation with yourself. You're interrogating yourself.
But that wasn't written that way.
Oh, was that a Tom thing?
No, I went to Tom and I said, because Harmon had no lines in the whole thing, and it was just a monologue, a one-page monologue for me. And I have a terrible memory. And the only way that I could think of memorizing it was
You do not have a terrible memory.
Listen, I wanted to turn it into a dialogue so that I could go back and forth with myself.
Because I'm angry, and I'm immature, and I like control. You have no alibi. Alibi.
And then I went over and looked at the jail cell, and I thought, what if I do this to myself? So I ran over to the squad room, and because I wasn't in the scene that they were doing, because I was in jail, and they were finishing the squad room, and I was like, Tom, can I show you something? And I gave him my idea as we were walking over, and then I showed him what I wanted to do. And I remember that blocking, because Harmon walked in like, Weatherly. You hog.
But by the way, how good is he?
He's so good.
He's so present, and you feel like you're having a scene with Gibbs, and you're not, and it's just you.
He does 3 incredible things in that scene. He brings the pizza in sideways. But, nobody carries a pizza like that. But he brings the pizza in sideways. And destroys it. But at the very button of the scene is DiNozzo eating the destroyed pizza, so happy that Daddy brought him a pizza.
And also right after being hit on the head.
And that's the second great thing he does and that's also from SWAC season 2, how he got the pneumonic plague to leave Tony's body. He just slaps him on the back of the head. And the number one great thing is that his listening is so active.
Yeah.
And, but the way that we were cutting that, where at first it's confusing, and then you realize that Tony is kind of losing his mind. Like he's really scared. But it wasn't just, and this is, it wasn't just interrogating himself. It was character revelation because DiNozzo says about himself, so, you've been called a misogynist, and you seem to objectify.
You date a lot of women.
You date a lot of women, and you objectify them. And, what would you say that has to do with? And he says, well, maybe it's because my mother dressed me up like a sailor till I was 10, or maybe, and the hostility.
Yeah, the anger.
But he knows that that's a weakness that can be used in a court of law, and that they can get him to be, he's going to look even more guilty than the evidence because he hates women. You can make it look, and so it's almost like
it's your paranoia.
But it's almost like Tony sees an aspect of himself that is revealed to him through this, and there's a little moment of,
this is who I am.
Am I perceived? Is it this easy to frame me for murder? Because people think, have you ever had a thing where somebody presumed something about you? Or, because I'm going to ask if you've ever been framed or had your identity stolen. That's a separate question. But have you ever thought that somebody saw you as one thing and made all these assumptions and presumptions? And
definitely. And going into the nightlife world, people for sure, especially someone in the behind the scenes or in the promotional side of it, people think of you a certain way for sure.
And what's that certain way?
Mostly like, they definitely do drugs, which I never did. Like I never did drugs. So that's one thing.
Wait 1 second. You never did drugs?
I've never done drugs. It's crazy. I like wine. but I've never done drugs.
That is by the way, like
it was always around.
I mean, we're talking honestly, and I always felt like, oh, maybe Bella does indulges a little bit here and there.
Not way
and I by the way, I wouldn't be like, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'd just be like, that came with the territory. And it's funny because my brother does
so
nightlife.
You had the presumption.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I had the presumption, but it had no judgment. Like I was just like, that's what he does, and that's fine. You know what I mean?
A lot of people think that that's what nightlife. There's a lot in the nightlife. You'll see it. Like it's around for sure. And the crazy thing about it, it's just so out there in your face, and no one hides it. It's like, holy shit! Like I couldn't believe how just present it is.
Oh yeah.
And it's not even like hidden. Like
I think from a person that just wasn't a part of that. And now that you're saying the statement, it's kind of blowing my mind. And yet I know it's not true because, for example, my brother's always been a complete straight edge, and he's always been in events and always been in nightlife. And the guy doesn't even drink a beer. You know what I mean? So there is, and I've seen it firsthand, but isn't it funny how aside from him, I just thought no one else would be able to live under that. I love this.
I want to talk about revenge, anger, and vendettas. I'm doing a pivot.
Oh, whoa.
I'm going back to the frame up of it all.
Well, these are dark things.
Well, it's a dark episode. I mean, it's gruesome.
Can you please go in there? Because that's something that would be very fun to explore. Have you ever felt, for example, the need to, not revenge is a big word, but did you ever feel like getting even about something?
Oh, yes.
You have multiples, or is there one specific one?
No, I mean, this was a profound yes. So
I can say that there have been 2 times in my life, very, very stark, clear, demarcated emotional moments where I needed to really calm down because I was a lit, hot, red mist fuse. I was ready to blow. And to the point where my whole body was tingling and I had and so the first time I was in my 20s and it was almost ontological shock. Like my worldview got so disturbed by what had transpired that I remember I was in the bathtub for 3 hours, and then I went and stood in the Ralph's supermarket in the cereal section looking at all the cereals, and I realized an hour had gone by and I was just staring at cereal boxes. I mean, I was going right down that rabbit hole of like dreaming of revenge, dreaming of what I would do. And I flew to Jamaica and I started swimming and running, and I was like,
You flew to Jamaica for like a vacation?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was unemployed then. So I could
perpetual vacation.
I could do that. And I had to cool my jets. And then the other time it happened.
Is that how you achieved it? By sort of going into your body?
I went into my body and I had to really communicate with like when we get angry like that, there's something of our inner child that's endangered or something like that. And I think that the next time it happened, the only other time it happened, it was the same thing where I felt stripped of my place in the world, and I felt a kind of, and I had a real traumatic encounter with the world. I mean, have you had such things?
I don't.
Yeah. You got to have kids.
Yeah. I don't think I have a big thing like that. I mean.
So when you're an actor doing one of these films or doing Chip, and you have to play that, access that, are you the kind of actor that just puts yourself, Bella, into the context of the scene?
Or do I think about stuff?
Or do you draw on things and
definitely, I think definitely draw on things for sure.
And get yourself worked up.
Yeah.
And those are our little secrets, right? Our little actor secrets.
I can hit emotion pretty quickly though. Not like it's not a fake thing though. It's not just like bullshit. It's hitting from thought. It's there. Also, everything's different. If one thing triggers something else triggers something else. Like I said, it all depends on the character and depends on the scene and what's going on. But
I mean, I think Pyro probably had some anger issues.
Pyro had a lot of anger issues.
It's interesting that you would get cast in such a contrary way, because you are a very gentle, kind
You're
soul.
a gentle, kind. Yeah, yeah. I feel the same way. Every single time I've seen you, you've always been so warm and so. And by the way, I have to confess something. Every single time I saw you, and you were like, "Oh, come out, come out. I'll, there's this going on, or there's this party going on." You were so warm. You were so nice.
And you never came.
And I never came. But part of that was, I think there was a little part of me that was just. First, I'm a very private person, but second, I like to have fun sort of in my house with my group of people or friends, and so I love having fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think maybe I was a little afraid of that world. But funny, all of it was also based on that thing we're talking about today, which is perception.
Sure.
And so. Mind you, had I just wrapped my head around the idea that maybe not all nightlife is the way I thought it was. And not that, by the way, I was old enough to understand what I knew I would say no to. So it's not like I was like, oh, I'm a victim of the night.
You would have been around me. You would have been fine.
No, of course I would have been fine. But, there were all of these things that I was like, oh, man, what can I do? And then I was like, I'm tired. I think I'm just going to go to sleep.
You'd also be like, can I get there at 9? And be like, we don't even open until 11. So
right. So that would have never worked.
That wouldn't work. I got another question for you. Have you ever been in jail?
No. Never been arrested.
Have you ever been arrested?
Never.
I've been arrested.
Do you want to?
I will tell you that when I got arrested, I was so compliant. I was so immediately obedient.
Were you by the way, were you already doing NCIS or no?
Oh, yeah. It was season 13.
Were you recognized?
What?
Yeah. I got a DUI on Western and... Not Western. Was it Western? Western and Sunset.
What time was it?
Midnight.
Okay.
Or 11:30 or something like that. I don't know.
From dinner?
So I had gone to, it was a dad's night out for my son's preschool. And all the dads met in Koreatown.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was going to go home, drop off the car, take a shower, get changed, and then Uber down to this dinner, because that's sort of the standard thing. Well, I was late. And the traffic, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go. By the time I get home and then getting back to Koreatown is going to be. So I just drove in there, went in, and I thought, I'm going to stay for 15 minutes. I don't really want to be here. Well, it turns out
that it was the most fun you've ever had.
When you get men with their 3-year-old children and all the men are sitting around with each other, showing each other movies and pictures, it gets really fast. It gets like bondy. You get very bonding. So then they brought out the soju.
So I was going to say soju for sure.
So the soju comes out.
Oh, soju's so good. Though.
Wait,
it's so good.
Like the peach soju.
What is soju?
Okay. So what is sake?
Oh, so it's like sake?
It is,
I like
but
sake.
it's not different. It's like you can get it flavored.
No. What's
it's like
different?
A plum wine?
Sake is 13 to
15%
alcohol by volume.
Okay, and soju
is 40%.
Oh,
so
volume.
good.
So I was drinking it like it was sake.
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
Oh, by the way, you can't. When you taste it, it doesn't taste it doesn't taste like it's that strong. You're like, oh, this is great.
So it's not like you're having like a glass of tequila in which you're like burning your throat.
No. So I went out at the end of the night and brought the Uber app. I called the Uber, and then the guy comes running. He was like, "Senor," and he gives me and I'm like, oh shit, I drove. I forgot that I drove.
Oh, that's never.
And I was like,
thing.
okay, wait.
That should be like a foreshadow for.
Do I leave the car here, and then like the Uber is arriving, and I'm like, just take the Uber home. But then I have to come back in the morning because I have to drive to work. So I have to come back to Koreatown in the morning, and I'm like, I'll just inch along. I'll be just really slow. So.
Were you slow, but like this?
No, I don't know. I don't have any video of this, but I know that I got
the Tesla with the self-driving.
I got up to the traffic light, and it was a red light, and I went to my radio, and I was trying to find some station, and it was finicky. Maybe I was a little loaded, but I was trying to find a radio station, and all of a sudden I heard whoop whoop, and the little lights over from a gas station on the corner. And of course, I rolled my window down and I was like, thank you, because the light had turned green while I was sitting there.
It's just shit.
And all of a sudden he lit me up, pulled me over.
Because you didn't go on the green.
I recall that his name was Officer Rodriguez. I want to thank him for doing his job. I should not have been driving, and I'm absolutely not endorsing that kind of behavior and not trying to make light of it either, because it's incredibly dangerous. But it's what happened. It's my story. So they ran the field test. They brought me in. I blew whatever I blew. And it was over 0.08. That's what I know. But under 0.16, because then that's double the legal limit. And then there's they take your license away and there's a whole. So they put me in a holding cell.
Okay.
And I'd never,
You were like,
except for movie sets
Right.
and TV shows, I'd never been in a room that I couldn't get out of. And it's a feeling.
I'm sure I'm claustrophobic. So.
It's a feeling. But here's the craziest part. It's the Wilcox station. If anyone wants to check the records, I know they're going to be pulling up my DUI photo. But anyway, I'm in this room and I'm waiting. And I'm just like beating myself up in my head. I can't believe that I've been this stupid. And suddenly cops go running by, and it's soundproof. So I heard.
Are you by yourself in a cell?
By myself in a holding cell. And by the window, these guys go running, and then a gurney goes by really fast. And then I see a couple more people. And then seconds later, there's blood all over this person, and they're strapping this person into the gurney and getting them out to an ambulance, I guess, because there'd been a stabbing in the main holding cell.
You're kidding.
Where I was about to go. And I just remember thinking, I will never drink alcohol and drive. I will not even sniff alcohol and get behind the wheel of a car. And so there's a much longer podcast about this.
Yeah.
Wait, do you get a phone call, or how do you?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask. Did you
I
call
called
your
Jesse
lawyer?
Stern.
You're kidding.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesse
I still
Stern?
see Jesse Stern.
I called Jesse Stern.
What did you say?
And he came and got me.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. And
don't you have to stay a certain amount of time, or no?
I was there for a few hours, like 3 hours.
Oh.
Did you drive straight to set?
Yeah, that was what happened.
By the way,
I did not drive straight to set. I know I slept for 3 hours and then I took an Uber to set. And when I got to work, I didn't even feel the hangover because the dread of looking at Mark Harmon and knowing that I had created shame in the family. Now, it didn't.
Did we know? Because I had no idea.
No one found out until Thanksgiving. My mom, very disappointed when she found out. It's a terrible thing, but I have to say, lessons learned. It was not a frame up.
No, that was all you.
I did a bad thing, and I would talk to anybody and give talks about it. I'm very open and honest about my shortcomings. I am, otherwise, what's the point,
Speaking about Edge, what was it like to work with Miss Polly Pratt?
Okay, do me a favor, Chip.
It's Charles, ma'am.
Charles.
Oh, yeah, speaking of
Polly's
Edge.
awesome. I love Polly. I mean, I haven't
Did you
talked
guys
to
sit down and, for example, discuss the scenes? Did you guys talk about scenes? Did you guys run lines? Were you very much like, let's
we
just
might have
run
run
it?
lines a little bit. I don't think we talked about scenes of the character because she doesn't know who I am. We can't really talk about, why I'm there, the real reason, stuff like that. So it's just like, I'm here to be your assistant. I mean, she's always awesome. I think we would run lines a little bit or do stuff in the makeup trailer, but no, it was fun. At the end, it was interesting. She's so sweet and so lovable and nice. And I've got along with her ever since the beginning of that show.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
But when I have to pull the knife on her.
Hello?
Looks like we lost our connection, Abby.
It was you.
Was that a little intimidating for you?
No,
to do,
that
or?
was fun as shit for me.
Okay.
But because I just love getting like dark and doing some weird stuff, and I that was fun. But the end was when they had to hog-tie me. Again, we just talked about, he was. I'm claustrophobic on certain
So
stuff.
that
So
must
even
have been
elevators for me, it's a little
awful.
like okay. I don't really like them that much, even though I've never been stuck in an elevator.
I've been
Actually,
stuck in an elevator.
I got in Bulgaria.
Of course.
I kind of got stuck.
In Sweden, I got stuck. It's somewhere,
I was freaking out a little bit, but I eventually got the doors open. But
how long were you hogtied?
So that was the thing. That was like
That's not a question. That's not a question we ask too often.
It was a
No,
real.
I mean, that's
I was really tied up like that. It wasn't like a fake thing where like when they cut, you can kind of get out of it. Like I was
Buzz on the
like
hogtied guy.
They might have come and put like a little pad in between takes for my head or something like that. But and also that was worse.
So they were kind enough to understand your head needed some cushion.
What if
it
you
wasn't
had to
work, but
pee?
also, this freaked me out too because they taped my face.
No,
I was always
remember,
scared
they
I was
taped it-
gonna not be able to breathe Because my hands are like this, and what if my nose gets clogged? I'm like, oh my God, what if I can't breathe? And then there's whatever stuff they put in their drink, the color that they poured that red sticky stuff all over me. So now I'm sticky on the ground, which I'm not even sure we cleaned that floor off.
You're a tactile mess. Yeah.
Wait a minute. I'm not sure we cleaned the floor before they put me there.
I don't think we cleaned it.
I think we can...
I remember shooting with Jimmy Whitmore Jr. downtown in an asbestos-filled, horribly smelling, dank basement in some abandoned warehouse in downtown LA.
Wasn't it like a
right
hotel?
by Skid Row. It was just a disgusting, like no one should ever be there. When the lights are on and you see all the air particles and they're like, there's nothing good here.
It's not safe.
So I said to Whitmore, I go, did they check the air in here? He's like, 10 times. They checked it out. It's all good. Don't you worry about it, the thing, Weatherby. And I was like, he's like, and then you can hear him grumbling like, well, give a kid from actors today. Is the air quality okay?
You have no idea where I came from.
When I was doing Baba Black Sheep.
Today we're playing Michael Quiz. So Michael and Michael compete in a rapid-fire Michael quiz. This Michael really thrilled his audience.
Okay. Michael J. Fox.
I didn't really understand the
Michael Jackson.
That's
Thriller.
right.
What?
Michael Jackson.
Oh, we're
Thriller.
talking about Michael's like this.
Michael's, General Michael. Okay, that was okay. Warm up.
Question 2. This Michael went back to the future.
Michael J. Fox.
Okay, come on. This Michael really loves explosions.
Michael.
Director?
Michael Bay.
Bay.
All right. This Michael played George Michael in Arrested Development.
Oh my God. Oh, I can't believe it.
Young, super talented,
Michael
funny.
Cera.
Yeah, that's
there
it.
you go, Michael Cera.
That's it.
This Michael is the GOAT.
Jordan.
Oh, you got it.
Okay,
this Michael is the most decorated Olympian of all time.
Phelps.
Oh, good guys. Okay, this Michael is known for his Cockney accent, has played
Kane.
over what? I couldn't even finish. This Michael appeared in The Hangover, has a prominent tattoo, and has a passion for pigeon racing.
Mike Tyson.
There you go. You
Good.
guys, this was a good one. No instructions. We just went into it. You guys got it. Good.
It has been so awesome to catch up with you again. I hope that you had fun and you felt relaxed. 100%. And so thank you for coming in. You look fantastic. We talked about it all. We got into the hair. We got into the Michaels. We got into dad issues. We got into acting. We got into how you started. We got into the movies. We got into characters. We got into all of it. Well, we'll see you in some dark, smoky club very soon.
That or some dark movie where I die at the end of it.
He's a really, really, really sweet guy.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the hair.
Well, no, that was like, I hadn't
was
seen
very
it forever,
surprising.
and I was like, wait, that's a Buffon.
Wolverine?
Yeah, it was very Wolverine.
And also, if you didn't have any pockets, you could hide stuff in that beard. You could like put your wallet and your keys and your cell phone.
I thought you were going to say something about his outfit because it was really tight, so I was like, you can't hide anything.
I chose this jacket specifically for this episode because I know how cool Michael Bellisario is, and I knew that I had to up my game a little bit. I mean, I am off duty.
You certainly delivered, Sherry. So, fan questions. Ooh.
Kuchota high, baby.
Oh, God. What genre you haven't done that you would love to do, and a genre that you'd be okay never touching?
Can I go?
Yes.
I never want to do horror. I don't like horror movies. I don't like scary movies. I want to be uncomfortable in that way. I don't like gore or jump scares Jaws jump scare. That's good, but that's not really a horror movie. And then the genre, I've never done a space movie.
Would you like to?
Yeah, UFOs.
Would you like to do? You beat me to it.
I like it. I like UFOs, like Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
What were your favorite TV shows growing up? I feel like I know this.
People know that I loved, I've talked about my stuff, Heart to Heart and the Hardy Boys and the $6 Million Man and shows like that. But I also loved Late Night with David Letterman and Mork from Ork and Mork and Mindy. Mindy, of course, Pam Dauber, married to Mark Harmon. It's a very small world.
It's all very
and, and I loved the Banana Splits cartoons, and I loved Underdog cartoon, Sweet Polly Purebred. And I did grow up with a lot of television, but my mom called it the boob tube, and we were forbidden from watching it. So I had to sneak Charlie's Angels. I had to sneak all these kinds of shows, Three's Company, because we were not allowed to watch. So I had to like find a way. What about you, growing up in Chile or when you moved to the States?
I was very young. I don't think we got a lot of TV either. I think our parents really wanted us to play outside, so we did a lot of that, and that was super fun.
Yes.
But at night, we got like maybe an hour and a half or something. And there was a show when I was very young that was a cartoon. It was Japanese animation called Candy Candy. And it was a little girl. She grew up in an orphanage, and she was adopted by this very rich family, and she fell madly in love with this man named Anthony, who looked like a prince.
Anthony?
And Anthony...
Denozo?
No. Oh.
Hello.
And this man dies, and it's this really kind of coming of age, really sweet, you know...
Now, would it be in Japanese, or did they dub it into Spanish?
No, they dubbed it, and it was dubbed with Argentinian voice. So it wasn't like Chilean or anything like that. It was actually Candy was dubbed by an Argentinian woman. So it was a very specific accent.
I love this story. I've just learned something about you, Candy Candy.
My question is, did you use other TV characters as inspiration for Tony and Ziva?
You first.
No.
Not TV characters, but I did use, we talked a little bit about Cary Grant, and we were talking yesterday at lunch with John McNamara and about the Tony Ziva dynamic and how Cary Grant's always with an incredibly strong woman in these films. And if you think of Bringing Up Baby, it's Katharine Hepburn or Sylvia Scarlett. He did a bunch of movies with her. Philadelphia Story. Mm-hmm. Hepburn's the strong character who shows vulnerabilities and some weaknesses and can be stubborn. Grace Kelly, it goes through his whole filmography. And Sophie Loren and everybody. The women are strong, and Cary Grant's trying to catch up. Eva Marie Saint in North by Northwest. It's like she's the spy. Mm-hmm. She is ahead of him. And I feel that way about the Tony Ziva dynamic. I feel like Ziva's always a little ahead. And Tony knows that, but he's not intimidated. You know, he's a little outfoxed and outmaneuvered, but he knows that he's got to ride along and stay with her because there's this magnetic sort of attraction, and they have to figure it out, star-crossed.
So if you guys have any questions or any fan questions or anything you'd like to tell us directly, you could write at offduty@spotify.com.
Offduty@spotify.com.
Offduty@spotify.com. Okay, kids, listen up. It's time to learn.
Is it Gibbs Rule?
Yeah.
I love Gibbs Rules.
Rule number 36 today. What do you think it is?
Hold on. Gibbs Rule 36 is never monkey with the monkey.
If you feel like you're being played, you probably are.
Oh, it's a delusion of paranoia.
But it's also like, listen to your gut. Next week on Off Duty.
Next week on Off Duty. Can I tell you about it?
Yeah, please.
Okay. This is very exciting. Cue the dramatic music, please. McGee shoots and kills a man in an alley who turns out to be a DC Metro Police detective who was working undercover. When the team is unable to find any weapon or bullets left behind by anyone other than McGee, it appears that McGee may have made a fatal Proby mistake. Pause for dramatic effect. Look into the camera. Oh, wait, that was me. Anyway, McGee begins to doubt himself, but Gibbs is suspicious. There's more than meets the eye. You know, this is the drill. It's season 3, episode 10, Proby. If you want to watch the episode Proby with the extraordinary Sean Murray, you go to Paramount Plus, you dial that thing up, or you can maybe catch it on any number of other incredible stations.
Including CBS.
Including CBS, but I think it's on like 100 different stations.
Yeah.
Foof.